It's not conducive to like improve stamina or anything like that. But I fill out a referee shirt quite well, which is when I walk on the field. I mean, I'm pretty sure when I put on Twitter, I can ref your game. People see my profile photo on Twitter and go, nah, I don't. Not you. Not this grok.
Welcome to the 6th episode, are we on now, of the Final Whistle. Obviously, I'm joined again by Ant Canavan and Martin Cassidy. And today we're joined by sports psychologist David Charlton. Really pleased to have him here to give us another point of view on sort of a lot of ideas around what we discuss generally within refereeing and to give us a perspective on that. And I work quite regularly with David and bounce a lot of ideas off him and his experience, because he has experience of working with people who are not just obviously involved in football, but in rugby, in football as players, in motorcycling racing, all sorts of sports, golf, everything. So really pleased to have him. David might want to say a little bit about what he does as well now.
Yeah. Well, firstly, thanks for the invite. Really looking forward to the bit cracking banter and obviously sharing some ideas. Like Nathan says, my job ultimately is to help athletes reach their goals faster, and developing mental toughness is the key theme around my work. So, looking forward to it.
It's nice to have someone called Charlton on our podcast. Obviously, no relation to any of the famous Charlton.
Or is there?
Or is there?
Or is there? My dad is called Bobby.
Oh, love it.
And one of his cousins is called Jack.
Oh, nice.
But unfortunately, not the famous ones.
Oh, bless you. Well, Nathan, when we've talked on our podcast, and you see the way me and Ant are always a bit left field and a bit different, and you're always very considered and very professional, which we're very proud to have you on here for those reasons. How does that transfer between like what you and David would ask of a referee on the perception of what you do and the psychology of delivering, a safe event?
Well, I think that obviously when we're talking to referees, we're talking about understanding, like we say, achieving the goals and what makes them tick and all that kind of thing. And I think it's a great comparison, really, because if you look at someone like yourself, Martin, who's coaching it on a technical level, okay, your objective is to make them a better referee from things that they do. So it might be signals, it might be body language, it might be, giving them ideas about, sort of the way that they move around the pitch and all that kind of thing that improves their overall match control and all the other things that they're getting assessed on. But actually, from our side, it's more about the way that they think and the way that they feel when they're doing all these things that you described. So I think it goes hand in hand in terms of the way that we look sort of a little bit differently at the way we approach things when we look at work with officials.
I would say at the same time, though, when you are looking to try and help somebody, get from A to B and reach their goals, it might be that you end up looking at lifestyle and how they live their life, what stresses are going on in their lives, especially now, with COVID and the situation we're in, and how that goes on to potentially impact their day-to-day habits and their refereeing. You might even signpost them towards a personal trainer or a strength and conditioning coach, a nutritionist. Those sort of factors do come into it. Even, I suppose, you wouldn't get involved in the technical aspects of the refereeing, but if they did have a problem, then you would try and encourage them to have some sort of conversations to be able to help themselves.
I was going to ask there, but just following on from that, do you ever encounter people where you're like, listen, I've observed you for a while here, and I think refereeing's not for you? Do you ever give that sort of advice? Because I think I've met people who referee, and I'm like, you don't have the right mindset, or you're not doing it for the right reasons. but I would never say that to them. Is there something there?
I know exactly where you're coming from. I would say it's not my job to tell them whether they should or shouldn't referee. I might observe that and be thinking that. However, it would all be about questions, open questions, more and more questions, really trying to build up some evidence, if you like. And that could take an hour. It could take 10 hours over, 2 or 3 months before they actually come to the decision and own that decision. So, yeah, I certainly wouldn't be turning around and saying, yeah, you're not fit to be a referee.
Well, it's interesting because I did that actually once working for the FA. I was very honest with a lad, he wasn't good enough. And I told him so. And he did go back down because he just wasn't ready for that level. And I did think it'd be unfair on me to try and keep putting pressure on him to do these stuff, to climb the ladder when it clearly wasn't within his ammunition. But where I think it's really important, where you, Dave, and you, Nathan, sit in it, I think is quite crucial to all match officials at all levels, because when I became aware of this sort of angle, if that's the right word to use, was I had a friend who passed away a couple of years ago, a really, really close friend called Mark Taylor, who was a grassroots referee, started late, wanted to give something back, but didn't get up to the echelons that others are lucky to operate at. And I was at a game coaching a referee in quite a high up game. And a spectator had a heart attack at half time. So the safety officer come in and said, look, we can't start the second half. We've got an ambulance coming in and blah, blah, blah. I think we got him round, but, just delay it. So we said, okay. So I went out and I went to the home manager, the away manager, told him what's going on. I then went to the secretary, said, can you make an announcement so all the fans aren't frustrated? It's going to be delays. It's the welfare of the spectator. Then what we'll do, we'll give you a buzz when we're 5 minutes from going back out. So we only have a warm-up, blah, blah, blah. No problem, went back in. So I said to the referee, right, listen, I told him what I've just done and all that. And everything was great. Everyone was happy. No problems at all. In the car on the way home, my mate, Matt Taylor, bless him, he died, said to me, Scouse, why did you do that? And I said, what do you mean, why did I do that? I'm his coach. I said, well, what did he learn? Because you did it all. What you should have done, you should have got him and said, look, you go make sure you talk to the stadium announcer. You go make sure that you do, because that made it look like you were refereeing the game. And it was a huge learning point for me about pointing people in the right direction about to think. Mm-hmm. I think this is where you two guys are crucial in this part of the game.
Oh, you could have done. You see, the thing is, what I was thinking you could have done is obviously because you've got the benefit of your experience, Martin, the levels you've been at, and knowing obviously what it's like with a crowd of thousands. And things like that, and how you would deal with that situation, being an official in that environment. So I think that potentially even just going with him and then making sure he doesn't miss anything crucial is another point, because if he hears you say it, then the next time, hopefully there wouldn't be a next time, but you know what I mean? If there was a next time, then he would be fully equipped and fully armed with the information that he needed to do it. If he wasn't being observed or he didn't have a coach with him and he was just there, obviously with assistance, because obviously we know that not all games are covered. So I think it would have been really good to obviously get the little niceties of that.
Because they didn't know who I was. I was just like going around with a shirt and tie on. Little Scouse blokes saying, all right, mates, do this, do that. They're all probably thinking, who's this lad? It's a piece of reed. So no one really thought that who I was, and it didn't have the impact on it. So that really taught me, it developed my own coaching techniques about how people learn and what way they should learn and do accordingly. But where that led on to it was a midweek game. And David, I really like your opinion on this, because we've all talked on this, the three of us, about the challenges from a midweek game for all participants, players and match officials, to a Saturday game, because you get your kit ready in the morning. You go to work for a full day. You might be on a building site. You might be in an office. But then you got to rush in peak hour traffic to get to a game in time. And then when you get to the game, you're already wound up as a player, or even as a referee, where your tolerance levels are different. Is there any evidence that you've talked about those situations affecting the psychology of a sportsman or woman?
Yeah, well, no doubt about it. I mean, let's face it. If you think about the optimal performance level, someone's stress levels may well move from the bottom to sort of middle of the road, if you like. That's or slightly above. And yeah, if you're running late, you've had an argument at work or something, and you're starting up here, then yeah, it's everybody's going to. It's going to affect people differently, isn't it? It might be that as a referee, you're a bit more confrontational, or you might be the opposite, where you're thinking, and I just want to chill out and relax here. So you let a few things go, and before you know it, you've lost control of the game.
And equally, the players are the same as well. Sorry, Ant. Players are the same too.
I was going to say that, just thinking about what you said there, one of I have a really strong memory about a similar incident to that. I was working in Hastings. It's an office job. I was in Hastings, and I had an evening game. It was near Gatwick Airport, and it was like a 7:30 kickoff, something like that. And I got out of work at just after 5 o'clock. Should have been plenty of time, but that part of the country being the way it is, if you get like one accident, then you're gridlocked for ages. And I was sat in traffic. It was getting closer to kickoff, and I think I actually got there in the end about 7:15 for a 7:30 kickoff. And I don't remember the game whatsoever, but I do remember the feeling of, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I'm letting the other officials down. I'm letting two clubs down here. What if I don't make it in time? So yeah, my stress levels were through the roof, and I remember feeling like that more so than I remember actually doing the game. So, like you said, your stress levels are through the roof when you start. That's all you're thinking about when you actually start the game. I probably missed something I wasn't even aware of because of that.
I would say the most important thing is the awareness of actually what happens to you, and then try and do something about it. So if you had a half an hour drive in the car there, then maybe actually sticking on classic FM or some sort of music like that, which just mellows you, would be a nice, like a helpful technique, rather than say putting Talk Sport on or something like that. Just like, it's like mindfulness is a big thing. You don't want to be too mindful, like looking at the surroundings when you're driving in the car, because obviously you want to be looking at the road, but letting yourself drift in that way might not be such a bad thing. I think thinking about now, though, obviously a lot of people like yourself, Ant, are going to be refereeing for the first time in a long time. And if you think of the whole situation with COVID, referees, players, coaches, everyone's been affected by it in different ways. So I would imagine over the next couple of weeks, refereeing a game will be, very different to what it has been like in the past.
I think that obviously I refereed my first game last night. Obviously since we've been allowed to do games, and it was a really nice one to sort of get back into, because it was under 13s game, so it was quite. Wasn't the longest game, but it was a good one for me personally. When I got offered it, I snapped the hands off, because I thought this is a really good way for me to come into a game that's not going to have a lot of pressure on it. We're not going to be dealing with adults here. We're just going to be dealing with young kids who are getting back to it for the first time. And it allows me to get used to all the protocols that are in place, and it allows me to get used to how things are going to be in a game which has a little bit less pressure on it. So that was really positive. But obviously I turned up at the venue, and immediately I'm looking around and I'm seeing loads and loads of parents, spectators, as they would normally be. So, you've got different households all clubbed together. I looked to my left just before I went on the pitch, and there was a group of 3 or 4 women who were obviously just really close to each other. And obviously what was kind of burning in my head at that time was the letter, I think, came out yesterday or the day before, where they were basically saying, look, level step 7, even downwards to the youth game, only under 18s have one person who is sort of for a safeguarding reason, and that's it. And the thing is, I think you have to understand that when you're on your own and you go into a place like that, you've just got to accept that certain people are going to take certain risks, and probably what you should be focusing on is influencing as much as you can on the pitch, making sure that things are done. So looking after yourself as a referee, make sure you don't pick up the ball and stuff like that, because obviously you know that you say at the clubs, well, look, you're responsible for the ball pressure and all those things. And I think that it all comes to looking after yourself. But of course, there's nervousness. You turning up with a mask on until you begin your warm up and all those things. It's just things that you've got to remember, because we talk about it a lot, about the routines that we go into, and the sort of the way we just sort of switch on and just click into auto drive almost as referees. When we turn up, we go through the motions. And obviously, probably one of the last things you would do before, not one of the last, well, yeah, I suppose what is one of the last things you would do is to check the match ball pressure and things like that. And actually say to the clubs, look, you're going to have to be responsible for this because I can't touch the ball and things like that. It's a new way of doing things, and it's going to take time. And I think that's why probably it is a good idea that we're going to get. I would think that this October ruling about crowds will come into effect the grassroots game as well. So we're going to have a couple of months, and I think that a couple of months is actually going to be really good for referees, because it gives us a couple of months to get to grips with the way that things are going to be when competitive football returns as well.
Sorry, that was my phone again. I have it on silence because it's rigged up to my laptop thing. It comes up on my blooming laptop, so I just turned it off. So forgive me for my phone. Basic error again, so forgive me, guys. David, if I could throw something at you, what Nathan's just said there, interestingly, with the different challenges of parents and stuff, what sort of coping mechanisms do you recommend in those sort of environments within the realms of football or sport?
Well, let's start with the situation now. I think one thing I would be doing if I was a referee would be considering what it's going to actually look like beforehand. Potentially, get a pen and paper out and think about what your pre-match routine's going to involve to help you, get the best out of yourself on the pitch. And then you need to really consider what potentially some of the players are going through. Some will be approaching a game with their confidence level will be down a little bit. They'll not trust their skills. They'll probably be easily frustrated after a period because they're not playing the way they want to. Some will be out of shape, so some tackles might go flying in them, which whether half a second too late. And then you've got, there'll be other factors as well, I'm sure. Coaches might have had a stressful period with COVID, so their communication's a bit different. They might be a bit more confrontational than they usually are. So I think by writing down some of those things, that can help mentally prepare you. And if you want to throw parents into the mix and the types of behavior parents are likely to be facing, that's going to help you. If you want to step it up another notch in your preparation, visualize yourself going through your warm-up, your preparation, the types of challenges that you're going to occur, and how you want to deal with those types of challenges. That can only benefit you as a referee, and obviously benefit the players when it comes down to the actual performance.
Just on a point of protocol, with the COVID guidelines, it's not down to the referee if he or she sees something that they think is breaking protocol to address it at the time. It's just to report it afterwards, isn't it? Because what I'm worried about is, as a referee, you want to control as many of the variables as possible, and that will help, go keep calm and measured and composed and all the things that you want to be as a referee. But if a club is not taking the COVID guidelines seriously, what is the referee to do in that situation? Is the referee to try and correct it as he would, a foul that he or she sees on the field of play, or I'm confused about the guidelines, to be honest.
Well, I think my interpretation of it, Ant, would definitely be to think, well, what's our job as referees? Our job as referees is to ensure the safety of everybody there. That's our responsibility. And I think that if in your opinion, then that constitutes something that's not safe, and that there's someone or a group of people who are endangering the safety of everybody who's present, including obviously ourselves as officials. And I think it's our probably responsibility to say, hey, look, we're not going to have this anymore. We're not going to accept this anymore. We're going to stop this game and not allow it. And then the reasons for that going into the FA are reported as such that this club was taking too many liberties. There was too many problems. I didn't feel it was safe. And, I think probably in this situation as well, there's going to be somebody who'll back you up, who'll say, yeah, actually, we don't think this is safe either. And I think if you get a manager of a club saying that they feel that their opponents are doing things that are unsafe, I think that will then definitely justify that.
My concern is you get an over-officious or a busybody referee that will physically say to spectators to try and separate them or maintain, because you see videos cropping up on social media all the time of people, people are scared. It's fair to say that people are scared of COVID, and rightly so. It's a deadly pandemic, but I think there's got to be a balance between addressing something like you would an unruly spectator. Just address it with your point of contact, so a club official, and get them to do it rather than confronting it head on. But then also, don't be afraid of saying, I, as the referee, like you said, I'm not happy with this, and I'm not going to referee this game anymore. And then that's it. Report what you see to the FA. What I'm worried about is the over-officious referee that tries to correct what they see in the same way that they would inside the white lines, and it's starting some sort of pushback from people who will say, COVID's a load of bollocks, get white necking sort of thing. So I think,
what I would say, Ant, is that, obviously we've got these people who we as officials can work with, but I believe it's not until the competitive fixtures start. But I think it's what do they call it, a COVID-19 officer or something? So that will be almost like what you have in maybe youth football in particular is somebody who is basically a welfare person, and if there's somebody who is causing problems at a parent spectator, you would then go to that welfare person and say, can you please deal with that parent spectator who's causing a problem with this fixture? You can use, I think, this, but I believe there's going to be a safety briefing. So you'll know who this person is. There's going to be a safety briefing before the game from this person when it's competitive, when a competitive fixtures start. And then I think it is up to this person to then sort of say, potentially maybe use the same sort of directive where a problem is identified. You then speak to the coronavirus officer and say, look, we've got this problem with this team. They're not quite doing things in the correct manner. Can you have a word? And then you escalate it again and say, okay, we can't continue because this is not safe. Beyond that, and I think it will be when the competitive fixtures start about the way we use these people who are sort of dignitaries, if you want to call them that, to deal with them, deal with the incidents and help us manage the game as much as possible.
So from what you're saying there, in the meantime, friendly games, it could be quite tough for referees because you're going to get some people who abide by the rules, some people who are going to be quite lax, just like in the workplace in some respects. So surely, like, as your part as referees, what going to have to be to clearly spell out what you expect and what you don't expect, and then you're going to have to make judgments as and when it happens.
Yeah, I think it's we have challenges all the time. Let's be honest. COVID is unique in a sense where it's a huge problem that is can be a matter of life and death. And as Anthony said, people are genuinely scared, but I don't think it's the people that are scared who are the problem. It's those COVIDiots who think they're immortal and they're not, going to catch you. They're the ones that are going to be the idiots. And I think we should have a look at framing this simply, really. It's like when you're at a grassroots game and there's people on the side drinking, there's ways of dealing with it, isn't there? You don't want to go over there to a drunken person and go, hey, you can't drink here. I feel regulations say this. I think it's always having, how to deal with it. And then you would have, you can't go over to a crowd and say, you've all got to stop swearing, when there's 1,000 people in the stands. But if there's one person on the side, you can manage it. You might be able to imagine it. manage it and know how to deal with it. So I think don't be scared of addressing a problem like that. And I think a lot of people, like with referee abuse, they stand there and someone next to them is giving the referee, a young referee, maybe 14-year-old girl, all kinds of abuse, and the person next to them doesn't say a word, even though they're equally appalled by it. So I think the nature of this, I think it'd be interesting to David's take on this. When you see those sort of things happen, I can never understand why referee abuse particularly grows when there might be two people who's doing it on the side of the field of play at grassroots level, and there's 20 other people who don't say a word and let it happen. And I think doing a currency exchange again with regards to COVID and the things there, are people really going to go to someone and say, excuse me, you be 2 meters away, or excuse me, you haven't done this yet, I haven't done that. And I think it's that responsibility and the challenge of being responsible that I think is the challenge here.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think people are going to be responsible. You say with the social distancing, the reality is, though, it probably won't happen in some cases. So, I can see how, as a young referee especially, that could be more taxing and more challenging for them. Then is it not the responsibility of some of the referee associations, the counties, to actually support them around these scenarios and give them, I don't know, extra training around being assertive, that sort of thing to actually help them? Cause I would imagine like more experienced referees, like asserting your authorities, just something that comes quite naturally to you. But youngsters, that does throw that question out as far as developing those qualities, if you ask me.
And it is a massive responsibility, and I'm sure Martin will agree, and Ant as well. But particularly Martin, because of some of the referees he's directly dealt with, it's a massive responsibility for somebody who's probably any referee who's under the age of 18 to be responsible for something which is so important as coronavirus protocol. It's a massive, massive responsibility that for somebody who's a child.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is everyone, like Manchester FA, I think is a really progressive county FA. Chief exec's a fellow called Colin Bridgeford. He's a Man United fan, but I want all that against him. Really forward thinking. They've done a cracker video of like almost a cartoon explaining it visually, which I think that's one of the points that missed, because when you see a big documents like this advice, some people can have like document blindness, can't they? I'm the same with number blindness. It might be something we can talk about, David. When I see numbers, I'm a bit like, whoa, I get a little bit scared by a massive numbers. And I think people can do that. With documents, I think the document came out so late from the county FA in regards to, friendlies are starting on August the 1st, and this document still wasn't out by the 29th. I think that's something that, how can you question it? How can you ask questions on a Thursday, still Friday, when, you're really worried about what's going to happen on Saturday? So I think that was the first challenge. But I think how you deliver these messages of COVID advice is not just a document. I think having different ways of letting people learn about these processes in a video, not just in one big document that people would be scared by. I think that's where Manchester FA have led the way there, really. I think it's how you learn it as well. It's not scary, innit? If you just see one. If you sit down with someone and say, right, I'm going to teach you now, people turn off. If you teach people by stealth almost, you tend to get better results.
Mm-hmm. And it's always the different ways, isn't it? Some people learn by listening, seeing, writing, whatever it is. So I think that there probably is a bit of a responsibility for the powers that be to kind of address that fact that we all learn in different ways, and we all need to maybe hear it in a different manner to really get the full kind of understanding of what they're actually trying to tell us.
And not throw the documents out. And interestingly, at the beginning, maybe it's the second page on every type of media they've put out, there's a disclaimer. Big disclaimer comes up. Disclaimer is if they say, oh, if this goes wrong, don't blame us. Now that in its sense tells me, hang on a minute. What's all this about? And I think that when I see that disclaimer, here I am, 55. I know I look 35, but I'm 55. seeing this disclaimer, I just think, oh, really? Is this really as accurate as it is? What have I got to fall back on if I follow the advice that you're offering me? Oh, but there's a disclaimer at the beginning of it saying, if it doesn't work right, don't blame us.
Yeah.
I suppose with technology now as well, they've got so many options in order to educate people through like communicating like this, and people putting videos together to like webinars as such, just infographics, all sorts of different things, blogs like Nathan's lengthy blogs.
Well, while we're on the subject of education and learning and stuff like that, I did see something that popped up on Ref Support UK about the FA learning department, which is, great if you want to be a coach or you want to get involved on that side of things. But the refereeing side of things seems to be a little bit almost neglected. Like there's two streams of FA learning. And Martin, as it was posted on the Ref Support UK, what's the background behind it? Is it two separate things, two separate streams? Is it being engulfed in one? What's happening there?
Well, basically, I don't think anyone's got a clue, including the FA, really, if I'm honest. Right. Where it's come from is many managers, coaches at grassroots level end up being referees because there aren't enough referees, so they think, we haven't got a game, I'll do the game myself. So they'll do it as an unqualified referee, think, I quite enjoyed this, and then they'll take the course. Now, they've already done their badges, whatever level of badges they do to be a coach. And lots were telling us via all our social media and directly emailing us saying, you know what, the coaching that we get, particularly during COVID, is being top drawer. We've got access to all these things. It's been brilliant. And I'm a referee, and there's nothing like it with regards to refereeing. So here we are, this huge chasm. If I'm doing two parts of the game as a participant, a player, still coach, and a referee, and the learning mechanisms they have there are just miles apart. And the first question is the referees department part of the FA? And if so, why aren't FA doing the learning of someone that works for the FA? I don't get this disconnect where of all the caliber of stuff that FA learning put out is absolutely top drawer. Interestingly, people come from all over the world to take FA coaches badges. Goes right up to UEFA A and B, and there's all kinds of things that lead into that from the FA. But there's nothing like that for refereeing. You just become a promotion candidate, and you pass it. The only certificate you're going to get is to pass that basic referees course, and you get nothing else. You might go around to someone and say, I'm on level 3. Well, I've only got your wit for that. And I think looking at it that way, where there's another way of recognising the evolution of a referee within their field, I think needs to be recognised, because there's an awful lot of people who do an awful lot of work in refereeing, just as committed as any player or any coach, dedicated to travelling everywhere for pittance, just like coaches do. But they don't have any badge to say, I'm an FA. There's nothing there. And equally the same with observers. When you look at some of these observers who are top drawer, there's glass ceilings for them. What's their target? There's nothing there. I remember writing to the FA once saying, why don't you just give every single assessor, that's who it was then, a free ticket to the finals at Wembley? Now they have the FA Vase and FA Trophy. Never going to fill it in a million years. If every assessor in the country brought his wife and kids, he still wouldn't fill it. So just as some sort of token gesture that doesn't cost the FA anything, every assessor should. Those little things, I think, that you get in coaching football, me so-and-so level badge. There's really clear, tangible achievements. But as a referee, there's nothing there. And the learning process to achieve them just isn't there. You go to level 4, you go out of your county. So you get stuck in this area of 5 and 4 where are you a county referee or a national referee, and then you dip into Wembley then, and then Wembley controls everything you do. There just seems to be no real level of achievement. You just get told, I'm a level 7. And then the FA changed the levels. There was used to be level 1, 2, 3. Now there's got 10 levels as deep. So I just think having this sort of, if the FA Learning did it, I really believe that the specialists they've got in there, because no one in the referees department, as far as I know, is a teacher. They're only tutors. And the tutor courses they take are what are done by the FA. So there's Ofsted don't regulate the FA and say if your learning's up to scratch. So I think there's lots that can be done there. But I just think the way to go is that FA Learning that delivers the training for referees in that professional manner, like they do with coaches. That's where it's all come from.
And make it accessible for everyone. Because I think, look, if you're not going for promotion, it seems that you're completely forgotten about. You won't get any of these extra promotion, like the seminars where you'll go over the laws of the game, or the seminars where you'll be going over positioning and the technique and stuff like that. And that seems a shame, because there's not a lot of referees that will go for that promotion. So you're losing out on a huge engagement, on a huge amount of referees there. And second of all, I remember back when I started refereeing in around 2003 or something like that, we got a little incentive book where every game you refereed, you got 10 points. You took a fitness test. There were 3 standards you could get: gold, silver, and bronze. The longer you went round on the fitness test, the more points you got. If you was assessed or a mentor, you got points for doing that. At the end of the season, you could spend these points on new kits, flags. You can spend them on just all sorts of stuff in I think it was the RA shop or something like that.
FA shop.
Yeah, FA shop. It disappeared. It went, and people will probably say that wasn't cost effective for whatever reason, but there was nothing in to replace it. There was no incentive that said, okay, well, we're taking that away because it costs too much, but let's, like you say, bring this in as a replacement for it. And sure, okay, some referees will be happy with the money. Some referees won't want promotion, and even if there was learning available to them, they wouldn't take it. They're quite happy, in their lane at that level. But there seems to be something missing that was there not that long ago, and that just seems a shame.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this goes, if I'm being totally honest with you, because I got the email just before we came on, and it was an hour before we came on, I think it was, and I was really, really interested to see exactly how that was going to play out, because obviously they're talking about doing this to get more people involved. They're talking about a community thing. So I definitely think that it's going to be a really, really interesting thing. I mean, they said here that they feel that they can far better support referees by doing this. And you can have one log on for everything, which I'm not really sure if that's very secure, but there you go. But it's more about this stuff about saying, there's going to be more ways for referees to join the conversation, to find support, build connections, and have new discussions and blogs and things, and it'll be safer, so it'll have more safeguarding standards, and it'll be fit for the future and all that kind of thing. So I do think it's going to be really, really interesting, and there's absolutely no doubt that it's absolutely very well intentioned, this new vehicle, and I definitely think that whilst it's not going to address some of the things that that yourself, Martin, and Ant have just touched on in terms of giving a physical incentive to referees to say, look, we'll do this for you at the end of the season. I think what it hopefully will do is bring them in from the cold a little bit more, where they've felt, obviously, particularly the ones who know how much help coaches have had and feel that referees have not had as much. Hopefully they'll be able to say, from their position of being in both camps, to actually be able to say, oh, actually it is a little bit more equal now, and there is a bit more parity in terms of that inclusiveness. So I think that, because obviously they're talking about it being in the boot room, which I do believe is a coaching thing. So it's almost as if referees are being brought into a pre-existing area. So I think that it'll be definitely very, very interesting. Starting on September the 1st, and it'll be very interesting to see how it goes over the course of this coming season, really, because that'll be the first big test for it.
I suppose when you think about it, in terms with refereeing, I know, Nathan, you know the numbers, and you probably do, Martin, and as well. In refereeing, there's a lot of referees get lost into the system, don't they? Year upon year. And if these learning channels are ramped up and there's more support at a range of different levels, you're more likely then to have more motivated, more confident officials who feel better about refereeing in general. So they're likely to stay in the refereeing game, if you like. And then also the people who are maybe neglected from being able to develop themselves, they might come good as well. And because and be, I don't know, like a left field talent, if you like, and come through. But without that, then it can make their lives a lot more difficult.
Speaking personally, I think that what makes me feel good is I'm going to say it in the right way here. What makes me feel good as a referee is a human being ultimately. So I know that if Martin's my coach, Martin's going to be he's going to go into bat for me. He's going to be a really great guy for me. He's going to fill me with the confidence that I need. but he's also going to go about it the right way in terms of saying, you need to improve on this. That wasn't quite good enough, and you can achieve a better level of doing that by doing this and adding this. And I think that's what worries me. And I know, I don't want to go into a great deal of detail, but I do know that obviously, unfortunately, this week we've lost an RDO, and I think that's in terms of the position of their jobs being taken by sort of two counties merging into one in the refereeing department. And I just hope that the referees in both counties that are involved in this still get the level of support. And I'm not suggesting that they wouldn't. I'm just saying that I feel that less people is not necessarily a good thing. So if there are more people who are actually available through these forums that you can then pick up the phone to and maybe get a bit of advice, then we maybe haven't lost as much. But if it's something to placate that, then hopefully these referees will still get the right level of support. Because, like I say, I get a real good feeling from human beings being open and honest and saying, Nathan, look at this. Nathan, look at that. You did really well there, Nathan, but you need to improve this. And those are the things that definitely, speaking for me as a referee that's active, those are the things that I really like, is somebody having a conversation with me and being open and honest. So I just hope that that's still possible.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say today when he come in with it was a great point there was, is the evidence psychologically that sort of incentives work in regards to keeping people engaged, making them feel part of it? Is there any psychological link or benefit where you feel? I know you can frame it with rewards and stuff like that, but it's always, I agree with the lads there that when you feel part of something, you feel less disenfranchised. With the FA incentive scheme, I was involved in it because my business was selling goods to that incentive scheme, and I knew how popular it was. And I knew that people would say, oh, can I swap this from swapping that? And it wasn't really the fact of what they were getting. It was the fact that they were getting something. And I think, is there any correlation between that psychologically in sport?
Yeah, well, no doubt about it, yeah. I suppose what I'm thinking, if I worked for the FA, based around what you're saying, the first thing I would do is send a questionnaire out to every single referee, ask them their opinion, make them feel valued. But then obviously you've got to then act on that. And then it's a win-win, isn't it? Really, people are going to, if they feel valued, that the things have been acted upon, and you're actually delivering what you say you're going to, and it's the stuff that referees actually want, then yeah, no doubt about it, they're going to be motivated, they're going to be confident, and you're going to keep them in the game.
Yeah, it's interesting because when the FA have done surveys in the past, they say, right, tell us what you think of us. Tell us what you think of us. And send your replies to so-and-so and so-and-so at thefa.com. Am I really going to email the FA and say, actually, the referees department is rubbish? And so-and-so and so-and-so said to me once that you were rubbish. They never did that. And particularly the referees department don't seem to do that. Let's take it away. Let's give it to someone who collates all that information, nothing to do with the FA, where everyone can be really, really honest and almost like a whistleblowing process, independently. And then I'm sure you will get a more honest feedback than the head of referee and send an email saying, oh, answer this MailChimp and send it back to me. That ain't going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. Yeah. And I think until we take ownership of that identification, where referees are definitely scared to tell them what's wrong because they fear there may be consequences of that opinion if it differs to those in power. And I think that's not just, let's be honest, that's just not football, is it? I can't throw that at the FA's fault. I think that's industry in general, isn't it? This sort of ability to sort of tell someone how you really feel without the person you're talking about, having a decision on those opinions. And I think when we take that away from, referees, whether you're a 65-year-old lad who does one game a month to a level 2 who's climbed the ladder and wants to go up and is out there every week, I think we've all got a part to play in what a referee wants and what makes a good referee.
What you're talking about there, if I go back to the whole survey thing, if you look at like really good organizations, businesses, they would make that part of their process. That's part of the way they're going to build this learning style culture. So the survey wouldn't just go out once in every 5 years. It would be a 6 monthly, an annual thing. And also the important thing, which you said, it would be anonymous as well. So then people are free to express their opinions. And that's a vital thing.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm sure the FA sent one out that was sorted through another company. Well, I can't remember getting the feedback on it. Maybe it was so horrendous, they thought we're not going to publish those providers. I don't know.
Just swear that.
Well, one of the things that, yes, great having you on here, Dave. I think it's great. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was I believe Nathan's going in for the process of core, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful opportunity that's been offered through being in the promotion system. And I hope that it can definitely add value, because obviously, you know Martin and Ant as well, that when you go into those environments where you get the best, and I know that in my county there's football league assistants, there's football league select group 2 referees involved in that, and we're lucky to have a few select, I think we've got 2 or 3, maybe even 4 select group 2 referees in my county. So to have their involvement and to get their sort of advice and to have those once a month little extra booster bits where you can look at it and you can go, okay, we're really going to go into detail on this particular point, and it expands your knowledge in those areas that, you can have your RA meetings and you can have all the other development. Sometimes it actually gives you that little bit extra just to have this. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and it is something that the FA, I feel, does really, really well, because, I know that people might say, well, it should be like that for all referees, but like you say, there's not all referees want it. So it's about actually having a look and seeing who really wants to push on and who wants to do really well. So yeah, really looking forward to that, and really looking forward to hopefully being able to be a part of it. I would love to be a part of it, because I have the ambition to go as far as my ability will take me as a referee.
Yeah, well, congratulations first of all.
Thanks.
Me and Anthony will agree on this, that you are a very dedicated match official, very professional. We see the things you do on our WhatsApp groups and the way you are, and I think you'll be an asset to core. So hopefully, you'll be successful and you go on from strength to strength from the supporter core. But what I'd like to throw David's way, if it's okay, is with these groups, and I think core comes from UEFA convention money. I think someone can tell me if this is wrong, because core's everywhere. Every federation has it. So I think it's funded by UEFA, and the FA or the national governing bodies have got to put on these schemes. So UEFA pay for it, which is why that word's excellence in it, which I disagree with. Do you think, David, that when you are in that operation environment of, I'm going to be under a centre of excellence, does that come with pressures in itself?
The word excellence, yeah, exactly, I suppose, can give a pressure off on it for other people, and their perception, everybody's perception of the word excellence is going to be different. And in sport, there's an overlap with the word excellence and the word perfection. So yeah, you're not allowed to make mistakes, are you, if you're in that centre of excellence, potentially.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It's just like, my role as a psychologist. Really, my job is to help an athlete, a referee, whoever it is, to get the best out of themselves, to improve their performance. So I'm probably better off calling myself a performance coach, because the word psychologist, you automatically think, well, some people think mental health and problems and the stigmas there. So yeah, words are very have to be thought about very carefully.
Yeah. When Anthony was getting this ready, we had a conversation there, Ant, when you were sorting out your technical problems, and we said about this, because with excellence, and David again was spot on there, was we feel like that doesn't give you a get out of jail free card. When you're down there and you've got your coach on the sideline, and these coaches turn up, it's centre of referee, excellent, written on the jackets, and they all think that brings benefit to it. But when I worked for the FA, I purposely never wore any FA logo. Not because I didn't like them, because it was a privilege to work for them. It just comes with its pressures. Oh, you're the FA. And then they're not telling you, they think because you work for the FA, you should have picked McLaren to be manager of England that time. That was your decision. You think, no, mate, I'm just here for refereeing. And I think with excellence. I remember watching a lad, and he was the coach was there. And the first mistake he made, oh, was this excellent, is it? The match.
Yeah.
And the coach was saying to the manager, oh, was this excellent, is it? You sure that isn't the sense of refereeing excrement and not excellence there? You know, and you get all these comments, and I just feel great. Cause, great idea. Should be offered to everyone, not just a few. That's my opinion, but I think it's offered within people in the promotion candidates. I'm not sure if it is or isn't, but you know, I think everyone should have access to this wonderful support that the FA are offering. But maybe just change that last word. I'm just not sure that. I think that's it.
With the excellence thing as well, there is a danger that you will lose some people, some referees who, in their head, because they're in core, because they're in the centre of excellence, think I've made it. The rest of the journey is easy now because I'm in this group of officials that'll go along this conveyor belt. The path is there ahead of me. Before core, there were referee academies. I was in the Cheshire Referee Academy as a teenager, and I probably should have taken it more seriously than I should have done, because there was, to my detriment, ultimately, I had the Cheshire Referees Academy logo on this sky blue polo that we all wore. There was a few people in that group that would be like, we're in this group, we're better, we're the future of refereeing, and there was a degree of arrogance that came with that. And I would warn anyone, learn from a mistake that I made. Just because you're there, it doesn't mean the rest of the way is easy. If anything, it means you need to work twice as hard, double down, use all of the people, all of the tools, everything that you can that your lay referee wouldn't get in that situation. Just because you're in core, keep plugging, keep working hard, work harder, make sure if you're in that room, be the hardest worker in that room, and show everyone that you've earned that place. And don't be like what I was.
That's brilliant. And don't go to assessors and say, oh, by the way, I'm in core.
Yeah.
Try and throw core into every single conversation you have, because you think the assessor will go, oh, he must be good, he's in core. Oh, listen, chaps and ladies, if you do that, and the assessor's going to have the same opinion of the manager, isn't he? You haven't got to get out of jail free cards. It'd be really more beneficial if you keep your mouth stum, and afterwards, then it gives you a really good report. Just say, I've learned that from core. Yeah. Trust me, that works better than trying to flag an assessor.
Yeah.
One of the important things I'd really like, I keep saying assessor, I know it's observer, but there we go. And Nathan and David and Meg, one of the other things that doesn't sit comfortable with me about core, even though I think it's great the FA are offering these, I don't want to think I want to go to the FA again. I think it's great, they're doing this. But if there's an exit strategy, when we talk about what we've just said, people should engage, people should be professional, take these opportunities for me. Some of these, Kevin Friend gets involved in it, doesn't he? And Anthony Taylor, he was there when I was running the academy for the Southwest. Really great people you could call upon.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go and you leave core, there's no exit strategy. You're just out. So when you are in core, like Anthony said, going out of it is just around the corner if you don't work hard.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make the best of it.
Yeah.
So, and when you go, you literally are on your own. I talked to Matt and Glenn about it when we had our meeting. I said, one of the problems we've got with core is that people get great advice, and they might have a couple of bad games, they get kicked out of core, and they've got nobody apart from the RTO. Now, if you're going to create this wonderful learning experience and wonderful, conduit, then please just ensure that the break from core isn't sudden, isn't harsh, and that it is a bit of a parachute way of coming out of it, rather than just throwing you out.
I think that it's funny because David will know what I'm talking about when I say this. And it harks back to when I first actually wanted to go into what has now become core. It used to be Referee Academy, but I wasn't offered a place because I wasn't in the promotion system. So I was invited along to the to the assessment for it and things, but I wasn't offered a place because I wasn't on the promotion system. And that was when it was Referee Academy. And I think that, David and I know somebody in the Northeast who is working on a project at the moment which looks at players who've left academies. So, obviously Newcastle, Sun, Middlesbrough, and he's looking at that kind of thing and about the way people land from that, parachuted out, if you want to call it, and the way that they get that support or non-support. And I think it's a really, really interesting point to think about it from that perspective as well, because it is very harsh. And quite often, if you think about it from the perspective of a player, they're going from a Category 1 academy, which will look at all the clubs in this area are Category 1 academies. You then go to play in sometimes the Northern League, Step 6, Step 7 of the non-league system. And it's really, really, it's an unbelievable, I mean, you guys will know, the Northwest counties and things like that sort of in your area and places like that. It's a real, in terms of facilities and everything we talk about, it's a huge step down. And you often see as well people who you know really well who might be, so from a player's perspective, it could be a referee from a player's perspective, it could be a player who's maybe left Man United, and Marcus Rashford was one of their teammates, and they might have scored more goals than Marcus Rashford, but they got released, and Marcus Rashford's, going to World Cups. But from a referee perspective, it could be a colleague who you worked alongside who's now on the Football League. And those people sort of almost disown you, and you go into different worlds. And I think that it's about the mental health and the well-being, because there's one player in particular that we'll talk about this project that the gentleman we know is instigated. He left, I think it was Newcastle, to go to a club in the first division of the Northern League. And the club got rid of him after about 6 weeks because I think he'd been sent off. He'd been fighting with his teammates in training. And it was all to do with the fact that he couldn't get a grip on the world that he'd arrived into, having left Newcastle, where he had an unblemished record disciplinary-wise. And he'd been an absolute model pro, but just didn't reach the standards where they wanted to offer him a new contract. So I think that you have to think also about the effect that it has. You're going to fall out of love with refereeing because of this, and it's entirely possible that could happen.
You certainly stole my thunder. that was the story I was going to talk about. I mean, adding to it though, there's research being done. I think it was at Teesside University in academy football, whereby I think if you look at the stats, maybe around about 1% of academy footballers actually make it as a professional footballer. Don't quote us on exact figures here, but I believe the study was looking at somewhere between around about 100 academy footballers, and they found that I think it was around about 60 to 70% of those footballers who then were moved out of the academy system did end up with some sort of mental health problem, be it anxiety, be it alcohol addictions, drugs, those sort of things. Because they didn't have the coping strategies, I suppose, arguably you could say the support as well to deal with that. I mean, they're at a young age, so maybe referees potentially would have better coping strategies, would be more mature and older to deal with it. But it would be an interesting study to do around referees who are, like you say, relegated from this area.
I'm going to give a referee a shout out here. There's a referee at coach coming through, and he got all the way up to National League Premier, which is in refereeing's currency is a 2A. Cracker referee, natural man manager, electrician, was naturally a big lad. Naturally a big lad. He's called Adam Bromley. Now he stepped down from the PGMOL 2A, and I'm not blaming the PGMOL. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just telling you a story. And I even told him I'm going to talk about this. But he was one of the most natural referees I've ever met in my life. The first time I met him was in a place to coach him. The FA brought him into the coaching group, level 3. Was in a place called Ilfracombe in Devon. Beautiful part of Devon. I live in Weston-super-Mare. It's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours there drive. And I met him, so I got to the guy, had me a cup of tea, saying thank you to the guys at Ilfracombe Cracker Club. And I'm waiting to go into, hello, how are you doing? I'm nice to meet you again, blah, 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 blah. No problem at all. So see you later. I'll let you get on with your pre-match routine. So I'm waiting, looking. Players are warming up. Players are still warming up. And I'm thinking, is this guy lad's going to come out and warm up? So I go in. And I said, are you having a warm up? Oh, no. big Plymouth accent. No, me bad, I'm going to I don't need to warm up. I'm saving all my energy for out there on the field of play. I'm like, whoa, hang on, lads. You got to a level now where you've got two linos and they need to warm up here. If you don't go warm up, you're going to lose all credibility. So I had this big conversation. Anyway, he went out and just showed. And then he gradually started getting into this level of commitment. Turned to be a very successful referee. Really, really liked him as a referee. But he was a naturally big lad. And like Jeff Winter was, we all remember Jeff Winter, big lad. Now, he's a father of, I think, 3, maybe even 4 children. Really committed family man, full-time job, an electrician, supporting his family wonderfully well. He, honest to God, he found it really difficult to get into any form of rigid fitness regime. But when he referees, he never got any comments about his fitness. He looked a bit lad. Never ever failed a fitness test. Never got anywhere near failing a fitness test. But then started getting told, within that realms of the game that, oh, you got to send your data in because they all send data in. Oh, you haven't sent your data in, and there's consequences of not sending the data in. So you have these additional pressures that come upon it. Now, I know there's going to be people listening to this saying, oh, well, when you get to that level of football, you've got to be committed to it. Well, they're dealing with people who are full-time. And until you get to select group 2, you don't go full-time. Most of those players are full-time. So they've got the time to train. They've got the time to be committed to all those things. But the match officials haven't. But they're treated the same as where you select group 1 and the Premier League lads do with the expectations of fitness. And I just think I'd love that sort of situation between being a semi-pro referee in a pro game to a pro referee in a pro game. A little bit of leeway for people like Adam Bromley, who should have stayed on. I don't even think he was ever out of the top 3 or 4 on clubs. So the clubs loved him. They're our stakeholders. But he never, ever got to that body fat levels that he wants, which why we understand why you need them. There's no leeway there. So from a psychological point of view, what we do worry about as a registered charity is that is the day going to come when people have got mental health issues, eating disorders or stuff like that because of the pressure that can be put on them. And I just wondered what you think about that psychologically.
I think without doubt, yes, it will come. People will have those types of problems. What organizations, associations can do about it, though, would be the thing that interests me. And really, it is about educating people. It's allowing referees to actually think about the consequences of being relegated, of being out of the system, understanding what impact it's going to have on their lives. And if that's framed correctly, then it's going to give them a boost, and potentially that they'll work a little bit harder on maybe these aspects of fitness. Could be one thing, or other aspects of that performance.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The PGMOL particularly, they do some wonderful work on the advice they give for nutrition and fitness. They're absolutely world class. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not aware that it sort of caters for that avenue of people who don't quite hit those. I remember someone put it on Facebook, oh, do you realise that if you're below 20% body fat, you won't be promoted within the PGMOL? And I was like, whoa, hang on a minute, mate. That's not quite right. And it's this pressures of a figure of must be under 20% body fat or whatever it is. Guys out there are correct me if I'm wrong. It's just this, yes, we understand there's a certain level of professionalism and commitment to a healthy lifestyle and fitness regime. But, let's be a little bit more realistic with the pressures upon family men, because when people like Adam leave the game, and it's not just Adam, there's loads, if they feel a little bit disenfranchised, they can't give that experience back because they become a little bit annoyed about it. And I don't even know if Adam is doing anything. We're going to approach him to get involved with some coaching because he's a wonderful, wonderful asset. I just think that's where we get that problem where we're not recruiting referees, because these people who could help recruit referees are disenfranchised and have just turned their back on the game. So I think going back to what we said about coming out of refereeing, this sort of disconnect, I think really needs looking at to help referees leave the game slowly, not so suddenly, to give them a level of support that keeps them connected and keen to give something back to the game, and bring the next people through. I just think, I don't want anyone to think about having to go to the PGMOL, wonderful organisation, brilliant professional people, but just maybe please think about these people who've got real strong family lives and full-time jobs, committed jobs, that might not be able to achieve those targets within, the framework of what that is there now.
Yeah, I suppose that gets back to being listened to as an individual, doesn't it, really? Because the fact that somebody can't make a target weight could be down to so many factors. It could be their build. It might be they might have something going on in their mind about, I don't know, eating disorders or anything. You really don't know, do you? And if organisations were to bear in mind how referees think, how they feel, and then when they go on to actually leaving the game, if they can have the support in place so that referees leave the game on a positive note, then it's a win-win for everybody, isn't it, really? You talked there about how he could be involved in coaching, potentially would be if he was to leave on a positive footing with some support.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of it goes on, and to be honest, we've gained from it as a charity because there's an army of people out there who were cheesed off with the FA or cheesed off with county FAs, but they want to give something back within the realms of an organisation. So we give them that. There's no big pressures. Just go out, give them help, whatever that is. 1 game a month to 2 games a week. We have loads of coaches who do that, and they feel part of the game. They feel part of us, and most importantly, they feel part of giving back. And I think there's loads of people out there that want to be able to do that. Some of them, David, actually do it on their own. They're just not part of anything. They just go out and help people and mentor them, coach them. There's loads of them. And I just call upon them. Look, if you want to get in touch with us, we can give you a bit more, organisation with regards to feeling along to a family. And anyone out there who feels a little bit disenfranchised, get hold of us and we'll help you be able to give something back to the game.
Nice. It's like you said, if body size, body shape, all that aside, if you're fit enough, if you can pass the fitness test, I don't think it's that important. It goes back to the FA having this unwritten code of what a referee should look like. Shouldn't have beard, shouldn't be this, shouldn't be that.
I was going to say that, and you're severely disadvantaged, aren't you, by your beard?
Yeah, I'm a big frame as well. I need to stay out of the gym if anything. But as we're talking about fitness with COVID going on, there came something out. Was it today or something very recently that said, "Don't worry about fitness tests for this season because they're not going ahead." So. I'm going for 5 to 4 this season. So I was like, well, how is that going to affect me if I can't do a fitness test? What will that impede me in moving forward? And apparently, as it is anyway, but I don't know if there'll be more weighting to it now. Fitness will be observed and assessed as you do your games through the season.
Yeah.
I had the thing here. So pre-season fitness tests will not be required this season for levels 3 and 4 match officials who passed the 19-20 preseason fitness test. Newly promoted level 4 officials who completed a 5 to 4 nomination fitness test last season will be permitted to officiate in season 2021 as a level 4 without passing further fitness tests. Level 3 and 4 officials who did not successfully complete a fitness test will be required to complete a fitness test organised by the Football Association of venues across the country. Now, I don't know if that's going to be pre-season or through the season. And then it says newly promoted level 4 officials who did not complete a nomination fitness test in season 2019-20 due to COVID-19 disruption will be required to complete a nomination fitness test organised by their county FA as previously instructed in their promotion email. Now, obviously, in the promotion emails, it does say the promotion is subject to a fitness test. But in the same breath, it also says there will be no pre-season fitness tests. So that is very confusing. Obviously, fitness is important for a referee. If you can't pass that fitness test, I think that's a very basic requirement for most referees, especially the ones going for promotion. But it's gonna be a confusing season, 2021.
The one thing I will say, Ant, though, is if up to a certain point, and I'm not sure whether it's level 2A and 2B, but up to below those points, I think it is anyway. you're only having one a year anyway. So you might be training and training and training for that. And then you might drop to a level of fitness which is good enough to do games, but not at the same level as it was for that to get through that fitness test. So really, if I say this in the best way possible, it doesn't matter. Surely what should matter is that you are fit enough to do everything that is asked of you within the 90 minutes that you do games, and that you keep yourself at a level during the season where you are able to do absolutely everything that is asked of you at the level you're operating at.
It's been a while since I've done a fitness test. I think the last one I did was in 2013, and it was the 12-minute run. Is that what we're still doing, like nationally, or are we doing the FIFA one where you do a run between 75 meters and then walk? And then
I think it is the first one still,
but I
think it should be the second one.
You do both. I think two A's do the I think it's called yo-yo test. I think.
Yeah.
And below that they do the Cooper test. I think it's called.
Yeah.
But interestingly, Nate, last year I think they brought in the FA, rightly so, that there's going to be a mid-season fitness test as well.
Mm.
Because I'll stay with it in a minute about the challenges to a fitness test for an athlete. But what we've always said is that at the beginning of the season, people get ready to pass the test. They don't get ready to referee. And I remember there's a mentor I had very early on who was a Premier League referee called Ron Groves. Wonderful, wonderful man. Really, really big influence on me as an individual and as a referee. He said to me, and it always sticks with me, I'm sure people have heard it. Don't referee to get fit to referee.
Yeah.
And I think we owe it to players and ourselves to just try and have a level of fitness test that, validates our position in the middle of that field of play. Now, yeah, we can go down the route, like we said, with Bromers, who's a fantastic referee, just the build he is, but never failed the fitness test, never got decimal marks. I think there should be more credence on that than the actual passing the fitness test. But I will see lads going through the pits and going through the season, later on in the season, and they look completely unfit. Now, if you're going to go up with your referee's kit on a football kit, and you don't look like you can sell a decision, then just ask yourself that question: what do you look like? Don't get a bigger kit, lose weight. And I think that's where we sit in responsibility as match officials. So I do the best we can to be as well prepared for any level of football that we're going to do. So, you, David, what challenges do you think mentally, that an athlete will face in regards to a fitness test of this sort?
Thinking about it, from the psychological aspect, if you're going to perform as a referee with confidence at your best, you're going to get confidence from different things. We're all going to be different. Some people will feel like they have to be, very, very fit in order to be confident, in order to referee. Other people, I suppose, it's going to be bottom priority. They might have other things going on in their lives. What's the answer? I suppose if you're one of those referees who just does see it as a tick box exercise, then you need to have a regular. You need to find a way, don't you, in order to get yourself to that standard. You need to find out what you enjoy. And it might not be going out for a run. It might be going to the gym or doing a CrossFit or whatever it is. But you need to be able to find a way. It might be playing squash or badminton or something. So if I was a referee, and I'd definitely think about from the enjoyment side of things, and then think about the consequences of you getting fit, how that can improve your referee, and how it just improves your lifestyle as well.
Yeah. I don't know what it's like for you two, and I don't know what it was like for you, Martin, during your career. But when I talk to some of my sort of mates or colleagues as well who referee, we talk about, the various bits of work that we're doing to get fit for the season. It's just been talking about in the last couple of weeks, obviously, with the pre-season just starting. And it's absolutely unbelievable what they say to me in terms of saying, I managed to do a lot of the other things, but when it comes to actually doing the running and the cardio and all that kind of thing, actually what they need, or what they feel they need is like almost a partner to do it with them, because it's that hard to mentally. And I do feel that running is really difficult, because when you're refereeing, you're not thinking about running, are you? Even though you are running, you're thinking about the next decision or what we need to do, or am I in the right position? Or, there's so many things that come across your mind. So I think that it's about actually where your head is when you do the running. And that's why I think it's a brilliant point and totally endorse what David says about, if you're playing squash, you think about trying to whack the ball, not all the running around that you're doing. So I think it's absolutely brilliant to sometimes think about referees who really struggle with that psychological brick wall, which is running, and think about how they can get that intensity workload as a builder for them to build up the fitness, but make sure that they do it in a way that means that psychologically they're motivated to do it and that intrinsically they're motivated to do it, so that it doesn't feel like a challenge and it doesn't feel like something that's really, really hard work.
I think the hardest part of going for a run is getting off your ass, isn't it?
It is.
I think that
completely
simple as that, isn't it? Do that bit and you're halfway there.
It's just the getting started, and that's. But I suppose it's not just running. No, it's like anything, isn't it? It's, I don't know if you're starting a new diet or how giving up something. Then yeah, just get yourself started. If you've got, I don't know, some report to write or whatever, get that pen to the paper. Well, one thing I would mention as well, you're talking about a 12-minute fitness test there. So is that a mile and a half, 8-minute miles that's expected?
Yeah, that's a minute, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, this is my advice maybe from a running perspective, being a runner. I wouldn't necessarily just aim for, if you're borderline fitness, not aim for that 12 minutes. Or just aim for that mile and a half run as well. I would be aiming a little bit higher. Yeah. So make it a 2.5 to 3 mile run in your training. The reason I say that is because then when it comes down to crunch, you've got the stamina there, and the last half a mile, 300 yards, whatever it is, you can have something in your legs, and you're able to kick on there because you've done it for a good few times, and you've done double the distance. Don't just run the bare minimum.
I think, David, I remember a runner, a mate of mine who lives up in the Lake District, who was running on the fells and all the hills and all that.
Beautiful.
And he said, his coach said to him, with regards to running and then doing a competition or a fitness test, you only get out what you put into your legs. Whatever you put into your legs, you'll get out on a test. And that always stuck in me, because he said, look, because when you're doing a fitness test, and I was lucky enough never ever to fail one, even when I was 40, is the fact that when you finish the fitness test, you're doing your 2007, 2004, whatever it is, 10 minutes after finishing, even though you think you're going to die, you think you can do it again. You're sitting there having a couple of tea, thinking I can do that again. So there is a psychological barrier there that, that you need sort of coping mechanisms to cope with. But the funny story of it, I remember a lad, I won't say his name, he was shouting at the fitness test, on the Football League fitness test, and people were struggling. And he was shouting, think of the money! Think of the money! We'll have different ways to motivate ourselves, I'm sure.
Stick some music on as well. That's a good one. Nice motivational music off video or something beforehand. That can get you pumped up and raring to go for your training.
That's how I get through every gym session. Headphones in, volume maximum, hard rock. And my pre-season training, like you say, is different. I'll spend half an hour on the treadmill and half an hour on the weights pre-season. And then as soon as the fitness test is passed, it's doing the 12-minute run on the treadmill just to maintain that level of fitness. But then it's 45 minutes, 50 minutes on the weights. It's not conducive to improve stamina or anything like that. But I fill out a referee shirt quite well, which is when I walk on the field. I mean, I'm pretty sure when I put on Twitter, I can ref your game. People see my profile photo on Twitter and go, nah, I don't. Not you. Not this grok.
But it's better than sitting on the couch, isn't it, mate?
It is. So, it is. It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, and I remember you, actually. We have to put some photographs up. I remember I remember you were a big boy, weren't you? Before you started you did a certain thing about 50 odd days of fitness, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
You look like you'd been for liposuction, and you put it on blow instead of suck.
I didn't.
You were pretty big, weren't you?
I was a big boy. I got up to at least about 120, 122 kilos. Yeah. It's because my diet doesn't really change. I eat the same food in the same quantities a lot of the time. What changes is the intensity and the amount of exercise that I do. I'm sure it's probably a foundation, really unhealthy to eat the amounts of food that I do, which can be like 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day sometimes. And it takes a hell of a lot of work to get that off. But I'll do the crime, which is eating too much food, but I'll also do the time, which is in the gym. But again, over lockdown, I have got a bit of a belly going on, which is just because I've not been able to get in the gym.
I think we all have, and I don't think it's anything. I think even apart from maybe the referees who've been able to do the games behind the closed doors right at the very top level, I think all referees will probably be finding this pre-season more difficult than most, because of the fact that, normally you'd finish the season, you'd go on holiday, you might have a month where you sort of let yourself go a little bit, but we've had 5
months.
Yeah,
I know. I've got a suntan from the fridge, the light from the fridge. just and Anderson, I think I'd like to go back to you, Ant, because I think I took the piss out there saying, you look like you're going for liposuction. You put it on below instead of suck. You should take a major pat on your back, mate, because you put some serious work in there. And I think that 50 days fitter thing that you did was absolutely brilliant. So, major pat on the back to you, mate.
It was 50 days, and I lost just under 10 kilos in those 50 days. And it wasn't through starving myself. It wasn't through over-exercising. It was just about making small changes, yes, in nutrition, but also in the type of exercise that you do. It's the sort of exercise that it's not just the hour that you do in the gym, but you carry on burning at a higher metabolic rate when you leave the gym over the course of the rest of the day as well. Just little tips like that. But yeah, makes a big difference. Big difference.
What we do, we walking after that then, Ant. So when you talk about burning that higher metabolic rate, we just walk. We like going for walks after you beat the gym.
No, so basically the exercise that I was doing, you work your muscles in a way that when you stop exercising, those muscles are still kind of working for maybe an hour, 2 hours afterwards. So you'll find that you get that sort of afterburn effect from your workout.
Impressive.
I do find it a bit bizarre that the FA are all on about fitness and everything else, but then do a national partnership at McDonald's.
That is true. That's a fair point. You know what I mean? And I blame the FA because every time I see something sponsored by McDonald's, I think, I'll go get a couple of Big Macs.
The FA's fault in McDonald's. It's not my own fault.
Yeah, no, I've got no self-control.
No. Do you think that there's a necessity though? Because I think we're talking about there's a lot of talk at the minute about football. I know that in La Liga they've just banned all betting sponsors on the front of shirts, and it's something that's being talked about here. But in terms of the yield that they can give the smaller clubs in terms of bridging the gap between what the bigger clubs make from Champions League and competition money, European competition money, that these betting companies from all over the place, and when you see how much they earn, I think the boss of Bet365 pays herself about 50 million a year salary. It's not, it doesn't surprise you in any way, shape or form to be able to see how they can afford to do these massive sponsorship deals. But do you not think that, we're seeing a lot of things happening at the minute? Unfortunately, people are losing their jobs in the FA, people are losing their jobs in football. So Arsenal Football Club, 55 members of staff lost a job yesterday or the day before. I feel that it's one of these things where it's like, if they didn't do it, we'd have even less provision, not just for referees, but for coaches, for players, for everybody. And I think that that's one of the things that, McDonald's is something that, so many people will go through the doors of McDonald's that they can generate unbelievable levels of income. That means that they can do these sponsorship deals. And I think that, your local corner shop run generation to generation, your local butchers, whoever it might be, they're not turning over the kind of money that they'd love to be able to do, to be able to sponsor these things, And I think that we saw that in the past, loads of people say in the past, we had the meat raffle from the local butcher and all this that would keep this local community club going. And you just don't get that now because times are so tough. Everybody's pinching every penny. And I just think that, unfortunately, it's one of these things that's an absolute means to an end. And that's why, although it sends a bad message, the gambling, the fast food, everything, we have to think about if nobody else is going to fund, if government's not going to fund, if the people who, probably what you would say, people who are acceptable, people whose faith is fit, aren't prepared to fund, then we're left in a position where, unfortunately, we've got to go with people who ultimately their business is detrimental to, people who have problems with their eating, people who have problems with gambling, people who have problems with drinking, and it's such a moral dilemma that's so difficult to deal with.
I think, there was a bit tongue-in-cheek about the FA, and I do. McDonald's have put loads of money into the scheme that help young players and stuff like that, and that is definitely to be commended. But I just think, I'm sure there's bigger companies out there than McDonald's. I'm sure there's massive fitness organisations out there that can give similar amounts of money to it. That gives a different perception than that. But I think also with betting, I remember when Tracy Crouch was sports minister, campaign she had about bringing the minimum bet on a fruit machine down, and she was really anti about the betting that the betting companies, the FA, were getting into bed with, to such an extent that they stopped doing that. You only got to look at the EFL website, and I think they've got a betting partner on the EFL website. This has been in the pipeline for a long time about the betting companies, and they're all having their own little exit strategies. We've seen it with tobacco, we've seen it with alcohol. Even when you do the FA Cup and Liverpool like Carlsberg on the fronts, the youth team couldn't have Carlsberg on the fronts.
Yeah,
it's down to FA regulations. So I think there's always been these, rules, regulation situations to accommodate these sorts of relationships. But I just think Amazon, the way they're going now, the way the Premier League are looking at having their own, just broadcast their own TV channels themselves, don't sell it to Sky. There's going to be huge changes in how we see our game of football. And I think, they're the places we should be engaging with. Is that, people who, do you sell his soul to the devil? Is that what we're saying? Because we don't care where the money comes from.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where do we stop? And I think we all need to have that moral responsibility to what we do. But, our kids go to McDonald's, our grandkids do.
Yeah.
Most of us drink in pubs, some of us don't. But, I think we've got to be realistic in our own responsibilities. We can't slag up the FA when we're doing deals with McDonald's when our grandkids are going there too. So I think it's just seeing the bigger picture. And, why aren't the FA doing national sponsorship with someone like, Virgin Gyms or someone like that? Everyone Active Gyms, do that. You don't have to make money out of it. Just give them a profile for them to do it. And I think there's lots of little things I think the FA and England can do. What is it? Who do it now? BT wanted to do with Vauxhall, then he with BT.
Yeah, I think it's BT, yeah.
They were with Mars for a while, weren't they? Nationwide.
Yeah.
I just think some of these messages out there that, they'll say to don't put, Carlsberg on the front of a Liverpool shirt, but they'll put Mars on a training top of an England shirt.
Yeah, and I've seen that with Liverpool as well. They're trying to point them in the direction of using the training tops for the youngsters because it's is it AXA?
Yeah,
they have on there, which is different to the shirt sponsors. I don't know why. Is the shirt sponsor still not the bank?
Yeah, standard.
Yeah. Right. So I still don't really understand that. Why is one bank better than another bank? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I think it's product. It's again, it's a game I'm in. When again, going back to what you said about every penny counts. With Liverpool and all those top world class clubs, they're going to sell off everything. From training tops to.
Oh yeah. I'm
surprised actually that there isn't more advertisers. When you look at some of these shirts in Turkey and some other federations, they're absolutely covered in advertisements. They're really well placed. You sell when it's up on your shoulder, that'll cost you more than selling on the back of the shirt because this is in camera shot. A polo and a trackie might have more than training gear because the training gear probably isn't going to be on TV. But an after match polo might be because people don't do it's very rare. You might see like do a post-match interview and you got the Liverpool shirt on, but they normally shoot it where the sponsor's hidden.
Yeah.
So that's why you have a lot of fear on collars and stuff like that. That's all well thought out processes where people, when I do deals with grassroots football clubs, I'll say to them, sell off the back of the shirt, the front of the shirt, the shorts. Only recently the FA have allowed arm sponsorships, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've only released one now, haven't they, in the conference and National League. National League on one arm and a sponsor on the other.
And it's not on. It's weird, isn't it, Martin? Do you not think it's a bit strange how it's allowed in the National League, it's allowed in the Premier League, but it's not allowed in Championship League 1 and League 2?
I know, it's bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And it's the same with refereeing. I really believe that if the FA allowed referees to wear individual sponsors in leagues, like the Tool Station Leagues or one of our partners, just imagine if we got some sponsorship for them to wear on every one of their shirts, every one of their games, Specsavers or something like that. Now, I know Specsavers come in to do a deal with, and Carlsberg to do a deal with the Academy, but it got shooed. Carlsberg, because obvious reasons, a lot of people under 18 in the youth academy, but Specsavers,
they do the Scottish refs at the elite level.
They've got them. But why do you not with the Premier League or the FA? And I just think there's lots of things I believe the FA can do in a more socially responsible way to bring money in for our game than dealing with people who give out images like McDonald's and betting companies. I really do. I really, really. The referees at the FA Cup wear the same ones that the PGMOL wear.
Yeah.
Now, that money is done with the PGMOL. I'm not aware that most of it goes to the FA for the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But there's lots and lots of things you can do with concert football. How many level 4s is he? 1,400 is he? 300 odd level 3s is he? 400. So I mean, it's a lot of games you tweak that those particular people at that level could have something on their hands.
Yeah,
that could help referee education.
Well, those referees are filmed for like the social media channels, all that sort of stuff. So there's now revenue streams that weren't there before, especially social media, all that sort of stuff, exposure that they wouldn't have had before.
That could ultimately pay for a referee's kit as well. Some of these things, everybody wants to talk about. Everybody talks about referees not all wearing the same kit and all looking a bit different. But if they had a sponsor who would pay for that referee's kit, and then they could all be wearing the same, and they could all be.
Or at least massively subsidise it. Because what's the night kit at the moment? Like 70 odd quid, 80 quid more?
Yeah.
So it's a fair whack for especially if you're a young referee, 16,
I got a change colour top. I got a change colour top, and I waited because they've just changed the change colour tops this year. They've got the same style but different colours. And I got one of the colours that's been discontinued because of the price. I think I got it for 35 quid with the postage included. And to get a new one, you're talking 45, 50 quid just for a top.
Just the shirt, yeah.
Well, trust me. I'm talking to a sports manufacturer, well-known one from a referee's point of view, that we want to sell them off as cheap as we can. Now, you look at some of the companies out there that sell referees kits, and they're charging 7 quid, 6 quid, 5 quid for a printed badge. I'm in the game. This is an embroidered badge. For those on radio, I'm pointing at my left breast. Is that we can do it? The
He's pointing at his booby.
Left breast. Some people call it a man boob, not a left breast. But there we go. But the printed badge that you buy from any single supplier of kit, trust me, I've got the machines that do it, cost about 25p. Why are they selling them for 6 quid, 7 quid?
It's a massive markup.
What are you doing? That they make more margin on the actual embellishments than we do. So take some responsibility. So we're going to push hard to get a kit that is really mega cheap, so people can feel a bit better when they go out there, and it'll be a good brand, and we won't make any money out of it. We just want to give a really good option to people coming through that you can lessen the overhead of blowing a whistle.
I saw that post that you did about the Umbro kit. It was in Ref Support. It was a couple of days ago. Yeah. And it created a lot of debate. And I have to say my personal preference is that I like the Nike because and I think it all comes down ultimately. It's like boots, You might want to wear Adidas boots. I might want to wear Nike. And might want to wear Puma. David might want to wear, Jumma.
I'm an Adidas man.
Adidas argument. Adidas or Adidas? I used to say Adidas.
Adidas. It's got to be a Scouts thing.
It's like that thing, innit? Have you seen the Liverpool thing they released for Nike?
It's Nike.
It's Nike. It's not. And there's an old woman at the end of it goes, Nike? It's Nike. And it's like, it's just going off on tangents again. But I just think on the kit fronts and stuff, you know, when you add up what it costs to be a referee, I think it's a change. You must get similar in running, David. You know, there must be like people who want a certain type of brand in running, like you do.
No, you're right. Yeah, let's face it. Everybody goes for certain brands. I play golf as well. You know, you'll get people going for nice Callaway or Titleist golf clubs or golf balls. So yeah, so it's the same.
Does it make you play better, mate?
Of course, yeah. This time next year, I'll be off scratch.
Oh, fair play indeed. Well, I think we're there to look at wrapping up now, mate. It's nearly 2 hours.
It has gone on a while, that, hasn't it?
Dave, have you got anything you want to put in, mate? That you know, obviously, thank you very, very much for your time. But is there anything that you want to wrap up about the work you do, how people can get in touch with you, and anything that you would like to promote?
Yeah, so on my website, which is the 3ws.sport-excellence.co.uk, you'll find a range of blogs there across different sports there. There are quite a lot for football. Also thinking about the refereeing angle, there's a lot of stuff there for younger potentially like younger referees, because it's aimed at sort of children and parents. And I've got a podcast called Demystifying Mental Toughness. So yeah, feel free to tune into that with some nice guests on there. Hopefully some referees in the future as well.
Yeah, we'll put it on our social media platforms. We've got quite a good following, all of us. So we put links out to your website and articles and stuff, and hopefully give you some good exposure, because you've brought a lot to this podcast today. I've learned a lot, and I just hope that people out there have learned a lot too.
That's been really enjoyable as well. It's been good fun, and yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
No, cheers, mate. Just
before we sign off, because it feels like we were just getting to the end there, and I just wanted to say there was very recently 2 petitions created, one on the referee forum, one on Ref Support UK, and it's about the use of either exclusively black whistles or the use of whatever colour whistle that
I've left the gas on.
wants to use. And I just want to say on both petitions, the current score is that the ban coloured whistles for all referees has been signed by 3 people. That's that many. I haven't misspoke there. That's 3 people.
3 people.
Whereas the petition that says allow the use of coloured whistles for referees without discrimination, because that's the important thing here, is referees being discriminated against by this dinosaur mentality, and that's had 16 signatures. So
16.
I mean, you're talking 500% more people want to have the freedom to use whatever they want in terms of kit on the field of play. And I think that's important to just acknowledge and recognise at this point.
Well, I want an independent inquiry into who you got to vote for those. It's just disgraceful that people should be looking at using coloured whistles when it's traditionally beautiful black whistle.
Let's just stop you there, Martin, because you've used the word traditional. I want to say to you that if you were a proper traditionalist, you used a steel Acme Thunderer, because that's what was created in the late 1800s, right? But if you was a proper traditionalist, you wouldn't use a whistle at all. You'd wave a handkerchief about on the field of play, because that's what the proper first reps did.
Well, I believe in that. As long as it was a black handkerchief, I'd be more than happy to get along with that.
I'm with Martin. Black whistles all the way. Where do you stand on it, David?
Yeah, I would go with a black and white whistle. We all know why that is. How you do, Nathan, anyway.
Brilliant.
And then as far as the petition goes, that is not the right petition. People should be signing. It should be a very different one.
Yes, there's a very good petition out there that does involve 80,000 signatures and a petition to a certain footballing authority. But I will say no.
Oh, I'm with you now. Yeah, I'm with you now. But funny enough, the idea of the petition coming out was in response to how stupid a certain football team started a petition about the wonderful Anthony Taylor.
Yeah.
So we just thought, you know what? If that change.org or whatever it is can allow such a stupid petition of one of the best referees that we've got, he might have made an error, but when he makes enough errors are the same as a player does, then come at us. But so we'll have a position like that. That's why we wanted to do something like this on a coloured whistle. So it's a bit of a protest against the ridiculous position against the world.
I don't know what you're on about there because I'm deadly serious.
Well, that's my excuse for losing.
Fair dues. All right, then I guess we'll wrap it up there then. Again, thank you very much, David, for joining us today. That's been episode 6. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or you're listening to this on Spotify, thank you very much, and we will see you on the next episode.